Good. So we are set to go, and the main topic that we are discussing today is in two parts. One is the basis of blood gas analysis, the physiology of it, the acid-base metabolism, and so on. All of you are familiar with this. I'm not going to go into it in too much of detail. The definitions are important. The terminologies are important for you to get used to it. Some clinical relevant points I'll be mentioning as we go on as well. The second part is a more interesting part, which is the clinical application of blood gas, where I will focus on how you approach changes based on what results you get and so on. It's not going to be an exhaustive discourse. You need a full day workshop to be thorough on blood gas analysis, but I will try to convey some of the most important points. Regarding the question and answers, I have my phone with me here, and I will try to see the YouTube channel as we go on after the end of the first part, and then we will take it from there. So as an introduction, it's a very important and frequently used adjunct to clinical care. Everyone agrees that it has great medico-legal significance as well. It's very important to guide ventilation. It can help in the management of a sick baby, especially in relation to the acid-base status. And as I said, we have two parts in the discussion today, and we will take a break at the end of the part one, and we will see if there are any questions. If not, we will move on to the part two. The blood gas analysis is usually done on microsamples. When it comes to neonatology, it's very important to focus on bloodletting volumes. And obviously, when we have the microsamples, which are like 0.1 to 0.2 ml of volume, you shouldn't really send a bigger sample. So one of the key requirements of any neonatal intensive care unit which is busy should be a standalone blood gas analyzer in the NICU. In case you are in a smaller unit and you don't have a standalone analyzer in your unit, you can always send it in a capillary tube to the lab, placed on ice and secured properly. You need to shake the samples well, and you need the capillary tubes with the iron pellet in it, which will help to mix it well and avoid clot formation. Some labs unfortunately do not have that, and then you may need a larger syringe sample, which becomes 0.3 to 0.5 ml as a minimum sample. When you do have a blood gas analyzer, you should be familiar with what type of cartridge you are using in your unit, and the type of cartridge we use determines the result we get. Of course, you cannot change it every now and then because the calibration will be linked to the type of cartridge you use. So in a predominant basis, you have to choose the one which will be most suitable for you. And we do have options to, just one second. So we do have the options to add separate tests. We can discuss, of course, the cost increases when you add certain parameters. So we can add bilirubin, electrolytes. If you're on nitric oxide, methemoglobin measurements help you. Measurement of lactate will be useful as well. It's very important to be aware of the sampling method, and we should be clear to avoid contamination. Calibration is important. Sometimes the machines calibrate when you're taking the sample, so you should be aware of the routine when the calibration happens, whether it is automatic, whether the lab personnel comes and does it on your lab. So you have to decide the sampling time in relation to the calibration time, because sometimes you take the sample when the machine calibration is going on. Some of the major calibrations may take as much as 15-20 minutes. So you can't re-prick the baby, or the clinical situation might change. So in that situation, you have to have the presence of mind to send it to your adjacent lab or to the next door machine. Sometimes the labor room has a separate machine and you can use it there as well. Entering the patient information in the blood gas machine is very important. So medico-legal purposes, the time when you do it, the backup is there. You have the log to go through it as well. So it serves as a proof in case you lose the paper version. So some of the important terms in blood gas analysis. So pH is a symbol used to measure the hydrogen ion concentration. It's a negative log of the hydrogen ion concentration. And as the hydrogen ion concentration increases, the pH reduces, which we call acidosis. As the hydrogen ion decreases, the pH increases, when it's called alkalosis. A severely depressed pH indicates acute decompensation. Acid-base balance is a situation where the pH is maintained as a result of the plasma bicarbonate and plasma carbonic acid relationship. So the hydrogen ion in the plasma is in the presence of carbonic acid. So that's why this relationship maintains the acid-base balance. And why is acid-base balance important? Because the enzymes and the different cellular functions in the body, the membrane potential, the various actions work better in a certain pH, and the normal pH range of 7.35 to 7.45 is maintained for that reason, because for the homeostasis in our body we need to maintain the pH, and that's the main reason we do blood gas analysis. Acid is any substance that can donate hydrogen ion, and it causes decreased pH if it is in excess. A base is a substance capable of accepting the hydrogen ion, and the reduction of hydrogen ion causes increased pH. The lungs are one of the buffering mechanisms where we control the pH by varying the amount of carbon dioxide that's excreted. The kidney controls pH by varying the rate of excretion of bicarbonate. It does have a role in secreting the other acids, which may accumulate in renal failure and lead to a high anion gap, metabolic acidosis, as we'll see later as well. The buffer mechanisms in the body, obviously respiration through carbon dioxide, and we have the hemoglobin, which is a buffer as well, and the phosphate is a very important buffer when it comes to the pH in the body. When we come to the blood gas measurements, we have components which are measured directly, and we have the derived components. The pH, PCO2 and PO2 are measured by electrodes. So these are directly measured components. The bicarbonate and base deficit are calculated from the pH and PCO2 based on the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So these are derived components. If there is an error in measurement of either of these, the remaining two will be abnormal as well. If you have contamination in the form of air in the sample, it can drop both the PO2 and the PCO2. It can affect both the PO2 and PCO2. So room air has 150 PO2, for example, and if you're contaminating with air, your PO2 tends to go up when your PO2 is below that. PCO2, of course, will drop significantly if there is air contamination, because room air has hardly any PCO2. Heparin in excess can drop the pH and affect other measurements as well. Over dilution can be a problem if adequate drawback sample is not taken from the arterial line. This is very important when juniors are involved in the measurement, so they may not be aware of the importance of an adequate drawback. Obviously, once you take a few 0.5 to 1 ml, it starts looking like blood, but you may still have a little bit of dilution happening in the system. So take a good drawback sample. Of course, you are going to replace it back into the baby almost immediately, so it shouldn't affect the volume in the baby. So take 2 to 2.5 ml at least to avoid dilution problems. Heparin can affect the pH, and obviously if your normal saline with heparin infusion is diluting the sample, your electrolyte measurements will not be accurate. I've seen some clinicians acting on this when it's not correlating with the clinical picture. So always think about whether it's correlating with the clinical picture, the pH, the electrolytes. If they are discrepant, probably it's a sampling error and sensible to repeat the sample rather than acting on it. And dilution can affect all the measurements as we discussed. So the components of the blood gas, we have the pH, which is the most important component for clinical reasons. So 7.35 to 7.45 is the normal range. However, for practical reasons, anything over 7.25 is acceptable. You do monitor the baby, you do accept the changes as we go on. But anything below 7.2, especially in a newborn, is likely to affect your body metabolism. It may impair the myocardial function. It may predispose to peripheral tissue circulation issues. So you do need to action if it is below 7.2 to correct it. Of course, it doesn't mean you give a bicarbonate dose. It depends on what is the underlying factor that is producing it. We will discuss it in the part 2. The PaO2 is only reliable on an arterial sample. We'll be discussing this in the next part as well, what sample to take. The normal range is 50 to 70 millimeter mercury, and we should avoid hyperoxia. So not everyone has access to arterial blood gas. So most of the time we use the saturation as a correlate. We based on oxygenation about transcutaneous oxygen measurements, and that again is not routinely available. However, in difficult babies where arterial access is difficult, you can manage using a transcutaneous PO2 as an indicator. PCO2 normally expected to be 35 to 45 millimeter of mercury. We will discuss permissive hypercapnia in the part 2, and age appropriate levels should be considered as well. Avoid hypocapnia at any cost, because hypocapnia is never good for the baby. Some level of permissive hypercapnia is acceptable, but as we will discuss later, severe permissive hypercapnia has no role because the outcomes do not change and you may in fact impair the outcome. Bicarbonate 22 to 26 milliequivalent per liter. However, lower levels are normal in preterm babies who lose bicarbonate in the urine. So 18 to 22 is acceptable, and if the pH is normal, you don't need to correct it. In an extreme preterm baby where the acid-base balance is difficult, we add acetate to the TPN, which helps to maintain it in the reasonable range. Base excess or deficit refers to an excess or deficit in the amount of base present in the blood. So a positive number indicates an excess of base, and a negative number shows a deficit. So if you say base excess of -2, it means a little more acid is there. If you say +2, there is a little more alkali. So -2 to +2 is taken as normal. However, -4 to +4 is quite acceptable. And most of the time we look at the overall gas picture, and as I said, these two are derived values, so you wouldn't action them immediately till you verify whether the sample looks correct and not discrepant. So just a quick overview of metabolic acidosis and metabolic alkalosis. So acidosis is where there is a buildup of acid like lactic acid, which can be the main thing in shock for babies, for example, or hypotension due to any reason. Ketoacids as in diabetes, sulfates and phosphates in renal failure, hyperchloremia and dysnatremia as well. So this can happen when you have excessive crystalloid resuscitation. So more than 2 to 3 boluses are to be avoided with high chloride containing solutions like normal saline. Metabolic alkalosis, where the acids are removed in excessive or you lose bicarbonate. So vomiting, nasogastric tube aspirates and diuretic use can be a factor. So acidosis is a physiologic state where a significant base deficit is present, and metabolic acidosis occurs when a disorder adds acid to the body or causes alkali to be lost faster. So the former will cause a high anion gap acidosis, while losing alkali will cause a normal anion gap acidosis, because when the bicarb is lost, the chloride goes up and balances the anion gap. Respiratory acidosis happens when the lungs do not promptly wash out the carbon dioxide, and carbon dioxide combines with bicarbonate to form carbonic acid, thus increasing the hydrogen ion and acidosis. Alkalosis is a state where there is more than a normal base present, and metabolic alkalosis occurs whenever acid is excessively lost or alkali is excessively retained. The acid-base ratio of the body is altered. So this most commonly seen in volume contraction as with excessive diuretic therapy. Respiratory alkalosis, this occurs when carbon dioxide is washed out in excess and the level of carbonic acid falls, producing excess bicarbonate. So this most often happens in hyperventilation, either anxiety related or because of overventilation. Metabolic alkalosis is usually associated with compensatory hypercarbia. So obviously this is the typical picture we get in chronic lung disease babies, sometimes on diuretic therapy. Otherwise, if they have high CO2 itself, the metabolic alkalosis comes up as a compensation. So compensation is a secondary physiologic process occurring in response to the primary disturbance in acid-base balance. So compensation is something which our body is doing. I mentioned the buffer mechanisms. I mentioned the role of the lung and the kidney when it comes to compensation. Correction is a change in the system originally affected by the primary disturbance from some intervention. So if you are looking at the acid-base system and you are intervening, you are correcting it. So it may be changes in the ventilation that you make. It may be providing additional support like ventilation or fluid correction. It may be inotropic support where the perfusion is limited, or it can be correction with bicarbonate. So we will be discussing briefly in the correction mechanism. Anion gap we mentioned briefly was the difference between the sodium potassium minus the chloride and bicarbonate. So the main cations minus the main anions, and increase in anion gap can be due to a fall in unmeasured cations or a rise in unmeasured anions, and the same reduction can happen due to rise in unmeasured cations like hyperkalemia, hypermagnesemia. And we have normal anion gap metabolic acidosis like diarrhea, renal tubular acidosis, adrenal insufficiency, chronic renal disease, intestinal or pancreatic or biliary fistula. Losses from these causes, hypoaldosteronism, and we can have spironolactone, prostaglandin inhibitors, amiloride, trimethoprim, and so on. So again, high anion gap can be due to acid retention, and examples include lactic acidosis, ketoacidosis, advanced renal failure, drug and toxin induced. And normal anion gap can be seen in hyperchloremic acidosis, GA, loss of bicarbonate, impaired renal acid secretion, reabsorption of chloride, and so on. So this is a summary of metabolic acidosis where the pH is normally less than 7.3, and we have bicarbonate less than 15. We must have gone through this. So in terms of normal anion gap, we have abnormal losses of bicarbonate like diarrhea or renal tubular acidosis, and increased anion gap where you have accumulation of fixed acid. This is less common. So it can be ketoacidosis, it can be organic acidemias or accumulation of toxins, and lactic acidosis like blood lactate. So just a summary of what we discussed so far. So we have metabolic acidosis, where if it is uncompensated, you get the reduced pH and the base excess is abnormal and reduced, that is negative. And if it's compensated, the base excess remains unchanged, so that will be your guide. So the pH direction may improve because of the compensation where the carbon dioxide is now reduced. And in terms of metabolic alkalosis, we have the pH increased, the base excess is also positive, and the CO2 is normal in the uncompensated stage, but in the compensatory stage the CO2 increases. Respiratory acidosis, again pH is reduced but the carbon dioxide is increased and the base excess is in the normal range. And in metabolic compensation, the base excess becomes positive because it's a compensation, and this is what happens in chronic lung disease as we discussed, and the pH comes closer to normal. So when you look at a compensated state, the pH may be less abnormal, but the CO2 level and the base excess will guide you. And the respiratory alkalosis, it's usually acute. Chronic respiratory alkalosis is not that common. The pH is increased and base excess is normal, the CO2 is reduced. And the renal adjustments usually are not that pronounced, but because it's short term. So with this we come to the end of the first part, and I'll just review quickly if there is any question.